Welcome to JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. If this is your first time checking out a video, please do consider subscribing, as we are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. We're watching a clip of First Things First, talking about, apparently it's been reported, an anonymous exec has come out and said that he thinks that the Steelers could potentially cut Russ if he's outplayed by Fields. You know, I go back and forth whether or not how realistic this is, because on one side, the argument is that Russ would have gotten these considerations when signing with the Steelers, that they would have said, hey, you know, you're not going to be cut. You're definitely going to be on the final team. On the other side, it's like he has no leverage. Russell Wilson is hanging on, you know, he has to just kind of take what he can get. I'm just not so sure why you would cut Russ. The only reason why you would cut Russ is if he's not going to play and you want to do it out of kindness for him because he's got the potential to maybe play somewhere else. Otherwise, you would want him there as a backup quarterback, right? He costs $1 million, so you're not saving anything. So this idea that he would just be cut, the only way you would do it is if genuinely he has another team that could want him, and out of the kindness of your heart, you want to help him out. But I'm just not seeing why they why they would go ahead and do that. I don't think Russell Wilson's a distraction, so to speak, unless they think that they want to make Justin Fields the true future of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they don't want a situation where if he has a couple bad games and the fans start chanting Russell Wilson, and they don't want Justin Fields to be exposed to that. They want it to be very clear. Fields is our quarterback. We're going to pick up his option, or we're even going to pay him. We're actually going to extend him. Then I could see that technically, but I don't know. I think if your quarterback can't handle that, then he's probably not that good of a quarterback to begin with. So let's take a listen to see what these guys have to say, and we can break it down from there.
Well, I do think it's on the board, but I listen, Brou is the Russ guy. He has been for years and years on this show.
I'm just fair. I just haven't written him off.
Listen,
I just say 26 touchdowns and 8 picks is good. That's all I say.
So listen,
205 yards a game.
Wilds, listen, when we do Mahomes topics, you usually give me the respect of letting me go first. So when we do Russ topics, we should give Brou the respect of letting him go first. So go ahead. No, but he's wanted to go first. He said it for the show. You were too busy fixing your hair. So
I don't know who this executive is. It's just scuttlebutt. It is hogwash.
Scuttlebutt.
It is balderdash. It's Tommy Rot, if I ever heard of that one. All right, look it up, because that's what this is. All right, really? Now look, I'm gonna be fair, because I'm not like in love with Russell Wilson, but I'm just gonna be fair. Is there a chance he doesn't start the full 17 games? Sure. Is he possibly or likely even one and done in Pittsburgh? Sure. Is he gonna get cut in training camp? No way. All right, there's no way that's happening unless he goes out there and really just can't play professional football.
So
anymore.
there is a way.
That's not gonna happen, because you can talk about how bad he was, and I've even admitted he wasn't as good as the stats suggest.
Why do you keep
But
saying
they are stats. I mean, they are kept for a reason.
He just
That's
completely
generally
undercut his
how we
own
measure
argument.
people. And so he didn't look quite as good as the numbers, but he did produce those numbers of 26 and 8 and the 6th highest passer rating in the league. All right. The fact of the matter is this: the Steelers have more hope for Russell Wilson next season, or this upcoming season, than they do for Justin Fields.
Based on what?
Based on who they bring in first. Russell Wilson. They knew Justin Fields was available. That wasn't a secret. But they went out and brought in Russell Wilson. What'd they give up?
I understand the argument, but I know the Bears were trying to get were trying to get the most that they could out of him, and so they were shopping him around. And I think it's not so much a matter of belief or faith necessarily. It's more like you do have a good idea what you're getting with Russell Wilson. So it's not so much that so you do have faith in the fact that he can play quarterback and can run an offense, but you don't necessarily have that faith with Justin Fields right now. I mean, you just really don't. You can't just you could throw out Russell Wilson. I'm not saying you would ever do this, obviously, with no coaching, no nothing, and just say, Russ, we don't even have any plays to call. You just out there, the mic's broken. I can't even tell you any plays. It's all you, Russ. You just got to run this offense right now. Our OC is, passed out, and you just got to do it, right? Russ has been around the block once or twice, okay? He can get that job done. I'm not telling you that he's going to pass with flying colors and he's going to ball out and get to a Super Bowl here, but he can do it. Justin Fields, on the other hand, seems to lack that ability, lacks that confidence. Yeah, sure. Will he be able to run around and do some cool stuff here and there? Sure. But he would also probably throw like 900 interceptions. So just off of that absurd example is that you will go to sleep better knowing, okay, we do know whether, we know Russell Wilson is not a top 3 quarterback in the NFL right now, but he is a genuine quarterback. He is not a complete spaz. He is not going to just completely unravel. We know that he is more than capable of playing in the NFL. There's a legitimate question mark about Justin Fields. Can he play in the NFL? I mean, love it or hate it, Russell Wilson went to 2 Super Bowls. You can't just accidentally do that, okay? Whether you want to say the defense carried him or whatever, it doesn't really matter. You have to be capable of doing that. It's not by accident. It's just not. Maybe if he only had 1 good year and he only went to 1 Super Bowl, then you could say, it was a fluke year. But that's not Russell Wilson's resume. It's just not. And I know he hasn't been playing great, and I know, even he was with a great offensive mind in Sean Payton, and Sean Payton was not happy with him. But it's just like, if you had to pick and choose, one is a really fancy car that looks real sharp, and you have no idea if you can drive cross country with it, because that's a lot of miles in a short period of time. And Russell Wilson right now is like a Toyota Camry, where it's not fancy at all, but you do know, okay, it's got good crash safety, it's got good airbags, I'm going to be able to drive across country, it's got good gas mileage, like, it'll get the job done. I'm not going to be winning any races, but I'm confident the engine's not going to explode. And I know if I get in a crash, it's a pretty safe car. That's actually the perfect example. I mean, the perfect metaphor. It really is. And so it makes sense if you're the Steelers. Let's lock down Russell Wilson. We can get him for $1 million, and there's seemingly not a big, bidding war for him right now. Especially since it was only like $1 million. So like that's why you lock it down. So you can't say because you locked him down first that means they want him more necessarily. I think that's unfair, but it's just knowing that, like, all right, we want to lock him down.
For Justin Fields, a 6th round pick. When it was a 4th round pick, when it was a 3rd round pick, they weren't interested.
What did they give up for
Russ? No, let me finish. They gave up a 6th round pick, and reportedly there are 4 other teams interested in Justin Fields, and the Steelers still didn't say, okay, we'll go up to 5. We'll go up to 4. They still kept it at 6th round or nothing. We don't know what he can do. Bring him in.
And why did Fields want to go there?
Well, Fields, it's a good opportunity for him. Because he can learn under Russell Wilson.
I don't think
and it's a good team. You don't think that, but you don't know. It's because
he's angry.
I think he
so
wants
angry?
to learn
He's all
under
fired
Russell
up.
Wilson. And he knows it's a good situation.
Hold on. So I
gotta let me finish my take.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I thought you.
No, I'm saying I think they have higher hopes for Russ than they do for Justin Fields.
Okay.
Now, Justin Fields, I'm sure they want him to be their quarterback of the future if it goes well. But no, this notion that Russell Wilson's not going to be there in training camp, you know how bad he'd have to look or act in training camp for them to cut
I don't think that last supposition is necessarily true. But I want to go back to what you were saying, which is why Justin wanted to be there.
Thank you.
Because all of the reporting that I heard was he wanted to be there was not because he could learn, because that was, of the teams that wanted him, his best chance to play. Who
were the other teams that wanted him?
I think New Orleans potentially was on the list, and he wasn't going to supplant Derek Carr. Philadelphia was on the list. He wasn't going to supplant. But it's not
but Pittsburgh is a very good team too.
Absolutely.
Support your. This is the quote from Courtney Cronin. Mm-hmm. There were 5 teams that reached out to the Bears to gauge their interest on a Fields trade. But the majority of those teams envisioned Fields as a backup. Mm-hmm. But Justin wanted to go there, and Ryan Poles is a great guy and did right by him by sending him
the Steelers have come out and said there is no reason for the Steelers to come out and say Russell Wilson's going to be our starter. Russ is on hard times. Russ was benched in Denver. Why'd they have to do it?
Because I think they say a lot of guys are going to start.
So now
we think.
So listen,
I said it. That's just a fact.
So the reason I so strongly disagree with what you're saying is, I don't think Russell Wilson needs to be unplayable in order to be cut. I think that if Russell Wilson is not the named starting quarterback, they will not want him as the backup. I think that I think the idea behind this is not, oh, he could be cut in training camp because he's going to come out there and not be able to throw a football. I think what they are talking about is, if there is any semblance of a competition, and Justin wins it, which, by the way, I am not certain he would, but if he were, that they would not want Russell Wilson as the backup quarterback, because Russell Wilson would not want to be the backup quarterback. The reporting as of yesterday was, in his meeting with the Giants, they wouldn't certify to him, you'll be the starter. That's one of the reasons he didn't want to be there.
But the Steelers did certify him.
Yes, before they had this player.
Have we seen any reports since they got this player?
No, but
what are those reports?
Well, no, they are right now still towing the line and keeping the line that Russ is the starter. And I think Brou,
well, and that was good on Brou, because Brou was pretty much calling him out for making stuff up, because that is what he's doing. It's his own opinion. It's his own opinion based off of that. And yet, earlier in the conversation, Nick tried to call out Brou and say, this is what all the reporting is saying. You're wrong. And now Nick is just making his own stuff up. So that's always the inconsistency that I will always point out with Nick. But I get what both people are saying. But what are we saying here then? Because the Steelers then said, yes, I am shaking your hand. Russell Wilson, you are going to be the starter. And Russ said, I'm definitely going to be the starter because I only want to be here if I'm going to be the starter. And they said, yes. And they shook hands and said, you have my word. You are the starter. You know? And then he did. He said, all right, hooray. And then they went and got Justin Fields. And they said, sorry, man, we didn't know we were going to get Justin Fields. You know, who knows now? You know, I just don't know if I 100% buy that. I believe it's a cutthroat business and, you know, anything can go. But I stand by that if Justin Fields genuinely outplays Russ, that, you know, one of two things can happen. I think they would, if the Steelers really are just going to try to be kind, that it's not so much that they would fear having him as a backup quarterback because he, you know, doesn't want to be a backup quarterback, because it's kind of like, well, Russ, where is he going to be a quarterback at then? You know, what team is coming for him then? I mean, the only team I could think of is a team that ends up getting injured, right? Like if, say, Brock Purdy gets injured or something, or Jalen Hurts get hurt. You know, I don't know. They wouldn't because, you know, they got Pickett. You know, so I'm just not really entirely sure who goes out and then who gets Russ. So, yeah, maybe they cut him and then he just kind of waits on the sidelines, kind of like a Joe Flacco type deal. You know, not like football sidelines, like the actual, you know, metaphorical sidelines. And then, you know, gets a chance to step in for like an injured team. But I don't know, because he obviously doesn't need the money, but I just don't know where you then feel so confident about Fields in that regard. But I do know also with Fields, if you have to start Fields, because one of the things is outside of Fields getting injured, but that's also the thing. Fields has been injured a lot. So you would want to have, you know, you would be like, screw your feelings, Russ. Are you a professional or not? Justin Fields is a starting quarterback. He outplayed you. You know that at any minute he can get injured. We believe that this team is good. That's why we're keeping you. Because if Fields goes down, you need to step up, and we believe that we can actually win games and get into the playoffs and win playoff games. That's why you're here. So sure, if you want to be a backup, if you want to be on the sidelines, and when, you know, the Carolina Panthers, you know, Bryce Young gets injured and you want to go play there because you want to start, by all means, go do that. But here you have a chance at winning. Like, I could see it going so many ways, honestly. But I don't know if there's any like true definitive opinion right now. But I do know that if Justin Fields starts and then you have to bench him, well, then it's just a wrap. You know, if the dude can't even finish a season, then it's just a wrap on Justin Fields. And then I don't know what the Steelers are, then it's like, I don't know what the Steelers are doing. Because then is your long-term play, to have Russell Wilson? Like, it is a messy situation that the Steelers set themselves up for. But that's why I don't see why you would cut them. You're taking 2 question mark quarterbacks. And you're better off saving both of them if one of them just straight up fails, rather than keeping only one of them. Because then you're keeping a question mark quarterback who you have no idea. Unless Justin Fields absolutely just balls out. And then you say, this guy is our future. The Chicago Bears are just a clown show of an organization. They have no idea what they're doing. Justin Fields is for real. He is a true quarterback in the NFL. And you know what, Russ? I'm sorry, we don't need you. We're okay getting like a much more mediocre backup quarterback. We're sorry we signed you and thought that you were going to play. We apologize. And now we are going to be men and cut you so you can go out and get to another team. This is our freedom. That is technically a possibility. Do I think it's a realistic possibility? Absolutely not.
Plan is for Russ to be the starter.
Oh, okay.
But that can if that changes, I think that it is then very on the board that Russ asks them, then cut me, please. You guys have no investment in me to wait for a quarterback to get hurt and to see where he could go.
But
and you guys want to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, and then literally the guys that get paid all the money on the table that get to prepare and have little, little earpieces of them feeding them stats and information with all their papers. Come on now.
Justin doesn't play well. He could end up starting in Pittsburgh.
Right. No, I understand that piece of it, and if I were the Steelers, I might tell Russell Wilson, no, we're not doing that, actually. We needed 3 quarterbacks last year. You're going to be a good soldier. So I am not predicting, Brew, he will get cut. So you kind
of agree? Okay.
No, I'm predicting he's the week 1 starter. But I am saying, the question, buying he might not make the Steelers. I am 100% buying that it is on the board that Justin wins the competition.
Well, technically, everything's on the board. What kind of take is that?
That is not the bet I would make, but do I think that is a greater than 1%, like not just any given Sunday type of chance? Do I think there's a 10 to 20% chance that happens? Yes, absolutely. And
that's a high chance.
I don't know why we have this hang up. He had less of a market than Gardner Minshew. If Gardner Minshew were in Pittsburgh and Justin Fields was brought in, would we go in there saying, well, yeah, there's a chance that Justin wins that competition? Would we be saying that?
I don't think.
No, because Gardner Minshew, we know, is a backup quarterback. We know that. We know that's who Gardner Minshew is. That's who Gardner Minshew has been for his entire career, essentially, outside of, the Minshew mania or whatever. But he is a backup quarterback. Russell Wilson is a Super Bowl winning, what is he, 6, 7, 8 Pro Bowls? I forget exactly, led the league in like touchdowns one year. So Russell Wilson has legitimate accolades. And if you want to say that there is a bigger market for Gardner Minshew than Russell Wilson, it's a fair point. But also, I don't know if we can say that's because people believe that Gardner Minshew is a better quarterback. I think that there's some concerns about Russ's, personality, what he does in the locker room, his longevity, he's older, as well as you can get in the long term, you can get more bang for your buck from a Gardner Minshew. Right, Russ is not going to be playing on $1 million contract. If Russ plays pretty good this next season, he will be in a position to be like, okay, well, now you got to pay me some money. Gardner Minshew is never going to be in a position where he can truly command like a hefty, contract. So I think that's what then makes kind of a Gardner Minshew, more interesting. And I think Gardner Minshew is actually a pretty good quarterback, quite honestly. I think he's a pretty capable quarterback. I don't think he's a complete scrub. And I wouldn't even say that he's really 100% a backup quarterback. If anything, I think he's more of like this borderline starter. And depending on if you give him the right coach and the right team, he can actually, win you some games. So there's also that kind of question mark around Gardner Minshew of maybe some untapped potential. We know Shane Steichen
I think the Steelers would be saying Gardner Minshew's our starter.
If they had signed him before they had Justin Fields and named him the starter, of course they would.
Why?
Of course they would. What do you mean?
Why not say we got a competition? Gardner Minshew's a career backup.
So we got
a competition.
The Steelers.
I think they could have said that with Russ, to be honest. Come in and compete.
But when they signed him and named him the starter, they didn't have anyone on the. Justin was not on the team yet.
No, but
I don't think they're going to now have hey, send out a press release saying, by the way, it's now open competition. They're going to have practices, and you're going to see who the better player is.
To Bru's point, the reason they're reporting on why Kenny Pickett left is because Kenny Pickett was promised opportunity to compete, found out Russ was basically the starter, and then said, hey, I feel lied to, or the situation changed, I need to leave. So that would support your point. But the question I have for you is this, Brou. Do you think there are some quarterbacks who are starters only? And I'll give you the example. When Cam Newton started the full Brady Bridge year to Mac Jones won the competition, and Belichick cut Cam Newton a little bit as a solid to him. It's like, man, you're not a backup.
Right.
He didn't do it as a solid to him.
You're the man. You're not going to thrive as a backup. You have
Cam
to
Newton was
and he
upset
went to
about
Carolina.
that.
He did the cool, I'm back. It didn't go well in Carolina because nothing.
No, the whole reason why that is Cam Newton's not a backup because Cam Newton has too big of a personality. He's too cartoonish. He's too flamboyant. He's too over the top. He's too divisive. He's the type of person who will whisper in the locker room, man, they shouldn't be starting Mac right. Psh, do you see what Mac did? Man, if Mac made some better throws, we probably would have won that game. I could make those. I mean, Cam Newton would be undercutting the situation every step of the way. And then you set it up again to have the fans be chanting to bring in Cam and all this. So he didn't do him a solid. That's an insane take. It's just that he's too much of a distraction. The media would be asking, every other week, will Cam Newton get a start? Mac Jones didn't play too good. Have you considered putting in Cam? And Bill Belichick doesn't want to deal with that. He had to deal with that with Bailey Zappi, let alone having Cam Newton there. So, which Russell Wilson can bring to a degree, although I don't think as anywhere near as much as Cam Newton, but, since Justin Fields has not proven to be a consistently good quarterback, that if Justin Fields plays a couple bad games or has a terrible half even, just a terrible half, they will ask him, are you thinking about starting Russell Wilson for the second half? You do have to start entertaining those questions. And as a coach in an organization, it can definitely get, annoying. But so those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. Please let me know in the comments below. What do you think the Steelers should be doing with both Justin Fields and Russell Wilson? Do they keep them both? Do they cut Russ? Do they, what do they do? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing, as we are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.